making a rip off of Black Panther. Coming out like March.
Did you see that?
I don't know. Maybe it's Snapchat.
But I'm sure it's true.
Kind of hair.
I've seen a lot of things. Like a lot of the ads.
What makes you say it's a ripoff?
They say Wakanda's a fictional place. And they were like the same kind of stuff. From town.
Wakanda is a fictional place.
Yeah.
Okay, so test tomorrow. Study guide was kind of interesting, I thought. Did y'all, Holly agrees, did y'all look at it? Kind of interesting, huh? Start off here with number 1. It says, suppose that x and y vary inversely. And so the first thing you need to do when you see that is write down the parent inverse function. So x and y vary inversely, so I'll write down y equals a over x. Then it says if x is 7 and y is 11, write the function that models that. So we don't got to solve anything. We just, except for a, we got to figure out a and then write the equation. So we'll say 11 equals a over 7, right? If we plug them in where they go. Now my a is being divided by 7, so I undo that and multiply by 7. So 11 times 7 means my a is 77. So now all I got to do is take that 77, write it right there in the a place, and what do you get?
11 equals 77.
No, y equals 77 over x, which is b, as in boomland.
Oh, I thought we would plug it in with stuff still there.
Mm-mm. It just wanted the equation to work for anything. All right, everybody okay on that one? I'm gonna erase that. Let's do it. Number 2 and 3 are the same type of deal, but they give you a table. So on number 2, we got 6, 10, 11, and 15. 81, 140, 155, and 210. Okay, so it wants us to tell whether or not that table is a direct variation, an invariation, or neither. So if it's a direct variation, it'll be y equals something times x. That's the direct. If it's an inverse, it'll be y equals something divided by x. That's the inverse. And then, of course, it could just be neither of those. So what you could do there is a couple different things. You could go through, try the equation they gave you for a and b and see if it works with those points. So like what I did was for choice A, direct, it says y equals 14x. So that would mean 84 equals 14. Why did I write 84? Oh, it's supposed to be 84, but right here I just put an 81, my bad. 84 equals 14 times 6, because that was my x and y from that ordered pair. And then I checked that and saw if it was true or not, and it was. But sometimes it'll just be a coincidence that it works one time, so I'll go pick another one. So I went to the next one. I did 140 equals 14 times 10. Now, why am I using 14? Because that's what choice A used, right? And yes, that's true. So choice A worked, so I didn't even have to try anything else. Okay, so let's look at number 3. We got 8, 11, 14, 17. 1, 10, 18, 31. Okay, so I'm going to do the same deal. Choice A says it's an inverse, and it'll be y equals 8 divided by x. So my y is 1. So 1 equals 8 divided by x, and my x is 8. So that one's true. But remember, we need to check another one, right? So the second one I would do 10 equals 8 divided by 11. No. So it can't be A. So we're gonna mark A out. B says it's gonna be y equals 1/8. Let me write it up here. Y equals 1/8 times x. So y is 1 equals 1/8 times x, which is 8. That's true, right? So try the next one. Y is 10 equals 1/8 times 11. 11 over 8 is not the same as 10, is it? So B doesn't work. So by process of elimination, there you got your C. C.
It's 7.
What's 7?
It's letter 7.
Don't confuse me. I was like, what in the heck is he talking about?
Yeah.
About Tyler? Yeah, just, thanks, Tyler.
You're welcome.
Okay, turn to page number 4. We got 6xy equals 13, and it wants you to graph that. Now, all of the graphing we've done with these, we've done in the graphing calculator, other than we learned how to find the asymptotes. But you can't plug that in the graphing calculator just like it is. We got to get that y all by itself. The y is being multiplied by 6x, so we're going to divide both sides by 6x. So y equals 13 over 6x. That's what you're going to type into your graphing calculator. Now, when I did that, I eliminated immediately A and B because the picture on my calculator has the branches in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3. A and B's got the branches in the wrong quadrants. So looking on C and D though, they're pretty similar. The biggest difference between C and D to my eye was this space in here. There was a lot more space in there on C, and that's how it was on my calculator. C is the correct answer. Okay, turn to page whatever 3 for number 5. This one was ready for your calculator, so you didn't have to do anything to it. But I didn't even type it in my calculator because I just found what the asymptotes were to start with. Since this has a -3 stuck on the end, that means it's going to go down 3, and there's going to be an asymptote down there. And then I get my other asymptote from x plus 2, so I said x plus 2 equals to 0, subtract 2. So I'll have to go left 2, and there'll be an asymptote there. Okay, A doesn't have that. C does. I hate it when they put the choices in the weird order. B doesn't have that. And D doesn't have that. So I didn't even have to graph it. It had to be C. As in Coolio. That might be a K, I don't know. Or 7 if Tyler's saying things.
C would be 3.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah, but the other one was C when he said 7. So I don't get it.
Me neither, it's just random.
Alright, I'm gonna, number 6, I did X's on my paper. It's got Q's.
Yeah, that was difficult.
Yeah.
Good for him on the black and white paper.
Okay, now I'm confused.
I don't know what y'all are doing before you come to this class today, but okay, that explains it all.
FCS,
Alright, so directions on this, just say to simplify and then state any restrictions. So trinomial on top and bottom, we're going to see if we can factor and do ninja math. So on the top, I'm looking for what multiplies to make 24 but adds to make 11. 8 and 3 is right. Good job. On the bottom, I need to know what multiplies to make negative 24 but adds to make negative 5. Negative 8 and positive 3 is correct. So now what time is it? Ninja time. So all we got left is an x plus 8 over an x minus 8, which A has that and C has that. So we're looking at either A or C. Now the difference is what x cannot be. That's what those equal signs with the slash through it means. So we know what that's about is you can't have a 0 on bottom. So what would make this thing turn to 0 on bottom? Well, if x was 8, that would be a 0, right? 8 minus 8, so x can't be 8. What would make this one be a 0?
-3.
-3. So that's what x can't be, which is C. You got it. Page 4. A lot of good stuff on page 4. That's where the fun was, Holly. Alright. I've scribbled on mine when I was doing my work, so I might need help reading it. I think it says 4a to the 5th over 7b to the 4th. Is that right? And
4 to
then,
the
Yes,
5th over 7b to the 4th.
okay, what is the 2
Times
B
2b squared
2b
over
squared.
2a4.
2b squared 2? Okay, I'd scribbled out all those exponents while I was doing it.
Hey, would this be cross multiplication?
You can cross reduce. You're not going to cross multiply. The only time you'll cross multiply is when it's an equal sign between them, but you can cross reduce.
This is the one I have
Do it.
trouble on over there.
Oh. Alright, let's look at the A's. I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top, and a 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bottom. So I'm going to have an A to the first left on the top. Okay, now let's look at the B's. I got a B squared on the top, and a b to the 4th on the bottom. So I'm going to have a b squared left on bottom because there's 2 b's down there. So we're looking at a over b squared for the variables. So can we eliminate anything on that? A and d, right?
Yes.
So we already got a 50-50 chance. It just depends on if it's going to be 4/7 or 7/4. Okay, so let's just do it old school way. 4 times 2 on the top, 7 times 2 on the bottom. Divide that by 2, be 4/7. So it's got to be B. As in boom lamb.
Or boom, shock.
It's like that new Geico commercial where, and then he goes sprinkles at the very end. That's my favorite part.
It is.
Alrighty, number 8. What's the z power on the left top?
Squared.
Z squared over z plus 1 times.
This was the one that was annoying to do all of these. 'Cause I had to put
Oh look, I already tried to draw my line and I was writing a 3. I started thinking, well, that's why I draw the line, but then 3z plus 2 over z squared plus 3z. Okay, so right side can factor, both top and bottom. So that's what we're going to do first. So what multiplies to make 2, but adds to make 3?
1 and 2.
So z plus 1 and z plus 2. So that's the same as this. Down here on this one, it just has a GCF of z. So if I take a z out, that would leave me with z plus 3. Okay, so now I can ultimately do this, right? So I don't get confused. Okay, z plus 1, oh, z plus 2 and z plus 3, can't do that. So the only thing left I can do is reduce z squared over z. What is that? Just a z, good. So on the top I got z times z plus 2. On the bottom, that z's gone, so I just have z plus 3. Okay, the choices is not written like that, so I need to go to the top and distribute here. Z squared plus 2Z. Okay, how'd we do with that?
And we have A and D.
A and D, so we gotta figure out what would make the bottom be a 0. Well, if we had a -1 here, that would make it be a 0, right? So Z can't be -1. If we had a -3 here, this is on bottom, isn't it? That would make it be a 0, so it can't be -3. And what about this Z? Just 0, right? 0 would turn that one to a 0. So Z can't be -1, -3, or 0.
D.
Which is D, as in dynamite.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, spaghetti-o.
That's cool.
Okay, 9, I did some writing and erasing and writing and erasing.
That's not sounding good.
If you did all that. Uh-oh.
Okay, so the way this is set up is kind of odd, because we didn't do a problem that only went to that level. The problem says, what would the GCF of that be? No, it doesn't. What would the least common denominator? Thank you, Holly. What would the least common denominator of that be? So when we had something like that to do, we were going ahead and either adding or subtracting. So we made the problem be bigger. So this is actually less work, because we don't have to do the adding and subtracting. We just got to pretend like we're getting it ready to. So we got to find what the common denominator would be. Now with this monster here on the left, there's 4 terms. And when there's 4 terms, we don't do it very often, but that's when you have to factor by grouping. So we would group them 2 by 2 like that.
Is denominator the same thing as multiple?
Mhm.
Cause it says least common multiple.
Oh, I should have read the question better. Yes. Because like if we had a 2 and a 3 denominator, it would be 6. It'd be that small, yes. Sorry about that. Thank you for straightening me out. Alright, so here I would take, on the first group I made, I would take an x squared out. And so that would leave me with x minus 1. Now in the second group, x and -1 doesn't have a GCF other than 1, right? So I still have to write that I'm taking that 1 out. Because now we write our answer by writing what we have twice times what we took out. Okay, so that's how that left side would factor. Now, the right side can factor also. This is a difference of squares on the right side. So this would factor as x plus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, making sure I'm still on track here. Now what we do is, and what we've done from there, like when we were finding our common denominator, if it shows up in one of them, it's got to be a part of your common denominator. So I'm gotta have an x minus 1. I gotta have an x squared plus 1. Moving over here, I gotta have an x plus 1. And I've already got my x minus 1, right? So that should be, yes, that would be our common denominator. I didn't put them in the same order as the choices. Can you look through the choices and see which one that is?
B.
Yes, it is. Good job. B, as in Boomland.
What was number 8 again?
8 was D, dynamite. Alright, number 10, we actually get to do the adding and subtracting. I got 7 over a plus 8 plus 7 over a squared minus 64. So we need a common denominator to add or subtract. A plus 8 doesn't factor. A squared minus 64 is the same as A plus 8 times A minus 8. So that's what our common denominator is going to be. If we get ready to make our common denominator, we got to have an A plus 8 in it. We already got that A plus 8. We've got to have an A minus 8 in it. So I'm going to put that on both sides. Remember when we did this one day? Okay, so the 7 on the left already had the A plus 8. The new piece down here is A minus 8. So I'm going to put that new piece on top. This one, this 7, already had all of the denominator. We just factored it. We didn't give it anything new, so I don't give anything new on the top. So this ends up being 7A minus 56 plus 7 all over. And then you can combine negative 56 plus 7. What does that get you? Oops, come on, scroll. 7A minus 49. Have I got to a choice yet, or do I need to do more work? That is A indeed. Could have took a 7 out of the top, but that wouldn't give you anything to ninja still. So A it is.
Oh, yeah, that's what you mean.
Complex fractions start on number 11 and go for a while now, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves complex fractions. Should have named them like fun fractions or something, then maybe y'all would like them.
Maybe.
But naming broccoli gold.
I don't get what it means at all.
Because I want to eat gold.
I like broccoli.
I've gotten to. I didn't when I was a kid, but I've gotten to.
It was such a like fad that, oh, my favorite characters in a movie don't like it. I guess I don't like it. It was like a stereotype almost.
Okay, so the dilemma with this complex fraction is that there's, on the top, there are 2 different denominators, and on the bottom, there are 2 different denominators. So we have to make the top, you can't do that, we have to make the top have 1 denominator, and we gotta make the bottom have 1 denominator. So what that ultimately means is, on the top, we need to do the subtraction with a common denominator. On the bottom, we need to do the addition with a common denominator. Then we'll be able to attack from there. So on the top, would you agree our common denominator should be 4y? Why?
4 Y's.
Yeah.
No, just 4y. So I'm gonna have, start off like this. The 3 already had it, so I don't change it. This we multiply by 4, so I have to multiply the top by 4. So 2 times 4 will make that an 8. Now I've got a common denominator, so I can just subtract the numerators. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. So now I've simplified my numerator down to just 1 piece.
We should go ahead and make them 4.
Now, okay, the other one's common denominator is going to be 2y. It could be 4, but that would make more work.
I
So
think
let's
it's
do
easier than
2y. Okay, the 1, I put a 2 with it, so I gotta multiply the 1 by 2 up there. And this one already had it. So it stays 3. So now I got common denominator. 2 plus 3 makes 5. So now I've got just 1 denominator and a big fraction, and that big fraction means divide. So I'm going to keep the top one like it is, negative 5 over 4y. I'm going to change it to a multiplication problem, and I'm going to flip or take the reciprocal of this one. Okay, so now what time is it? Ninja time. The 5s will ninja, except since this has got a negative, we'll have a negative left. So, now the y's, they're not part of a binomial, so you can ninja those. So the only thing you have is a negative 2 over 4 which is the same as negative 1/2.
B.
And then it is B Boomland, as Kristen said, and we're to page 5. They all right? Alrighty. Okay, so this one's a little less work because the numerator, the top, is already just one piece. So we don't have to worry about that. So I'm gonna just go ahead and bring it over here. But down on the bottom, we've got 2 pieces. So my common denominator, this is an understood 3/1, right? So my common denominator is gonna be 1x. Okay, so the 1 was already there, so I don't change it. The 3, we had to multiply by x, so you gotta multiply the top by x also. Now, what is 1 plus 3x? I don't know. It's just 1 plus 3x, right? Okay, so now we're ready to do the, change it to a multiplication problem. So I'm gonna have 4 over x plus 3 times x over 1 plus 3x. And we don't have anything we can do we?
Oh, is it because of the addition sign?
Well, I mean, there's nothing exactly the same. It's gotta be one on top and one on bottom.
Yeah, it's the x and then the x plus 3.
But they're both on bottom.
The top.
Oh, yeah, you can't pick that apart because of the addition sign. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't know what you were saying. Okay, so all we can do here, since there's nothing to ninja, I've got 4 times x on the top. And then looking at the choices, I'm gonna have to multiply these out, it looks like. So that's gonna get me an x. That's gonna get me a 3x squared. That's gonna get me a 3. And that's gonna get me a 9x. So if I write them in standard form, I'll have 3x squared, 1x and 9x is 10x, and then plus 3, which would be C. Alrighty. So, number 14.
I'm 13.
Yes, thank you. I gotta get it together. Number 13, x plus 4x over y over 7 over 3x. So the bottom's pretty simple on this one. The 7 over 3x is good to go. I needed a common denominator on the top. So it's just gonna be y. So that's the same as x over 1, so we multiplied the 1 by y, so we gotta multiply the x by y also. 4x, already had it. What is xy plus 4x? It's just xy plus 4x. You can't combine those. And then we're all over 7 over 3x. So now we'll say xy plus 4x over y times 3x over 7. Nothing to ninja again, huh? Man, they're taking all the fun out. So, do we need to go farther? Yeah, looks like, no? No? Yeah. Oh, they did that, they did that, okay. I don't like the way they put the choice, but we got it. So we'll say, when we multiply that, it was an x and an x, so it's gonna be 3x squared y plus 12xy all over 7y. Okay, so we still don't have a choice like that. So on the top, you can take a GCF of 3x y out.
So X
Hold on, have I got,
4.
this, I wrote this wrong, this is my fault. This started off as a 4x, and at some point I changed it to a 4y. So that's still supposed to be a 4x there, so that would make this be 12x squared. Okay, but we, whoops,
So you
We-
can take out.
yes, we still need to take that GCF of 3x squared out, yes,
So Y plus 4.
yes. And maybe that'll be a choice, huh? See?
Yep.
Alrighty. Last complex fraction, I think, on number 14. Yep. 14, I got n minus 6 over n squared plus 11n plus 24. Over n plus 1 over n plus 3. Okay, they both only have one denominator, so this one is actually a little bit easier because we don't have to do any adding or subtracting. But this trinomial here can factor, which might give us something to ninja math when we set it up in a second. So what multiplies to 24 but adds to 11?
83.
So this is the same good as 8, n plus 8, and n plus 3. So I'm going to say n minus 6 over n plus 8 times n plus 3. I just factored that. Times, take the reciprocal here, n plus 3 over n plus 1. What time is it? Ninja time. So on the top, I got n minus 6. On the bottom, I got n plus 8 and n plus 1. We don't even have to go any farther this time. D, isn't dynamite?
Yep.
Okay, we get to solve here on 15. So I got 6 over x squared minus 9 minus 1 over x minus 3, thank you, sir, is equal to 1. So our plan of attack when we actually solved these was we found what the common denominator would be, and that's when we then acted silly and said we bombed to cancel out the fractions. So this x squared minus 9 is the same as x plus 3, x minus 3. Good job. So my common denominator that I'm going to bomb with is going to be x plus 3, x minus 3. So we'll go here. And so the whole bottom will cancel out. All that you got left is a 6 on top. Bring down my minus. I'll go here. X minus 3's will cancel out. So I've got the x plus 3 left. Then when I go to here, nothing cancels out. So I've got x plus 3 times x minus 3. Now, when we subtract on this left side, you got to subtract x and the 3. So 6 minus 3 would be 3. And then you got minus x. So over here, we know that's x squared minus 9, right? So now we need to add the x to itself and its buddy on the other side, but there's not a buddy, so just put it in the middle. Subtract the 3 from itself and its buddy on the other side. So our quadratic says x squared plus x minus 12 equals 0. So now you can either do the quadratic formula or factor. There are some factors of negative 12 that add to positive 1.
Negative 3.
Which would give us our answers of negative 4 and 3. But here's the dilemma on that. -4 and 3 is a choice, but so is just -4. So it comes down to if the 3 is extraneous or not. So we need to go plug the 3 in and see if it's gonna work. So right here, I can already tell you it's not, because right here, 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 9 is 0, you can't have a 0 on bottom. So the 3 is extraneous, kick it out, you just have -4.
80.
Okay, this next problem is a fun one, because these types of problems show up on just about every kind of standardized test there are. If you can do the job in this many hours and he can do the job in this many hours, how long would it take you if you work together? It's basically what that says when you read it there. And there's an easy little, it's not really a real formula, but it kind of is. It's going to be however long it takes you over X plus however long it takes me over X, and the complete job is 100%, so 1. So you'll, any type of problem like that says something like that. If Tyler can mow the yard in 8 hours and Christian can mow, that's a long time to mow.
Yeah.
Christian can mow the yard in 4 hours, how long would it take them together? So I would put 8 over X and 4 over X. Okay? So this one it says, hold on a minute, I've got that flipped. Woo! Dadgummit. I've got that flipped. It's, the X is on the top every time.
Is it how long it takes us is the X?
Yes. No.
No.
So it says here that they're, what are they doing? Putting the finishing touches, they're painting a house. So whatever, however you say her name, Marina can paint a room in 7 hours,
That's a while.
okay? Paulo can paint the same room in 6 hours. So there's your equation. Make sure you write, because I haven't looked through all the different versions of a test tomorrow, but I bet there's something like this on there. So make sure you know it's just X over however long it takes you plus X over how long it takes the other person equals 1. So now that will almost get you the answer. We just gotta we gotta solve it now. So what would our common denominator be that I could bomb this with? What will 7 and 6 both go evenly into?
49.
42.
42.
Okay.
Almost said 13.
So 42 over 7 reduces to 6, so that would make that a 6x. You're probably about to see a 13 here, Christian. 42 over 6 reduces to 7, so that would make that a 7x. And then there, 1 times 42. So 7 plus 6 is 13. So then just divide by 13. And I got about 3.2 something. Really, if you got that set up correctly, the only other one that set it up correctly was D. And look at how long they said it would take them to paint it on D. 6.5 hours, which is more than it took one of the guys by himself. So that can't make any common sense. If one of the
that was just common sense.
Yeah. If one of the guys can do it in 6 hours, if they're working together, it's got to be less than 6 hours unless they like take a nap and have a party or something. So
They don't work good together.
B is in Boomland. All right, last page, last question. This is funny that a probability question popped up, but I kept it just because it was so easy. We haven't done any probability, but it's an easy. Yeah, it's an easy question for you.
I remember that one.
So it says all the possibilities are equal, so what's the probability that it will land on an uppercase or a consonant? So uppercase, I counted those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I've got 5 so far, and now I don't go back and recount the consonants in there because I've already counted them, so I'm just going to keep going around the spinner and look for any that are consonants. F, G, 1, 2, H, 3, J, 4. So I got a 5 and a 4, so altogether that's 9. How many things were on the spinner?
10.
So I got a 9 out of 10 chance, which would be 90%, which would be 8.
I was kinda confused by that one on there, I was like, why is there probability?
Yeah, I started to, because I started out with 20, so I deleted 3, and I started to delete that, but I was like, oh, they could use an easy, fun one. All right, so be able to use any notes and study guide that you want tomorrow. Be ready, be ready.